Hi everyone, and welcome to the Grossing Out series. In this series we will dive into Israeli popular visual culture with specific focus on Garbage Pail Kids phenomenon. Over the next sessions we will see how what began as childhood stickers in the 1980s evolved into powerful cultural force, leaving a lasting impact not just on kids who collected them but also on adults, as stickers became a platform for political satire. So when I bring up the topic of Garbage Pail Kids, you're probably wondering how something like that is relevant to discussion about Israeli society and culture. To more conventional people, it might seem that these products are childish or even disturbing art. But we're going to try to examine this brand in order to understand cultural phenomenon and development in Israel during the 1980s. The gap between creating local culture and influence of the United States on Israel, the linguistic adaptation that were made, and the roles of different groups in Israel society. So the first session will be an introduction, and we'll go through it together to move on to the next stages of our thought process. In June 1985, Garbage Pail Kids stickers hit the US, and the world as we know it was created. And for anyone under 40 or over 90, I'll give a quick explanation of what the Garbage Pail Kids are, when they showed up, and why they became such a thing. Our story actually begins in the early 1970s, not with stickers, but with doll babies, handmade by Martha Nelson Thomas. What made these dolls so special was that kids didn't just buy them, they adopted them. Each doll had a name and came with a birth certificate and adoption papers. Later, Javier Roberts took this idea and created his own dolls, first calling them the Little People. Then in 1982, after teaming up with Coleco Toy Company for mass production, the dolls were renamed Cabbage Patch Kids. Why Cabbage Patch? The idea was that babies would found in cabbage patches originate in local folklore, as cabbages were often linked to fertility and birth. Like many other toys, Cabbage Patch Kids were heavily marketed for the holiday season. But in October 1983, stores ran out of stock while demand kept growing. This led to chaos in toy stores, now known as the Cabbage Patch Kids riots. At that time, Mark Newgarden, a talented young cartoonist, was working at Topps Chewing Gum Incorporated together with Art Spiegelman, developing ideas for wacky packages, bubblegum stickers which parodied consumer products. The team heard about the Cabbage Patch Kids riots, which inspired them to create a sketch spoofing the sweet, innocent dolls here in the middle. They called them Garbage Pail Kids. Later that year, Topps developed a first full series of stickers, and the rest is history. Between 1985 and 1988, Topps released 15 series of Garbage Pail Kids, featuring over 600 different illustrations. Each design had 2 name variations, using the same artwork but with different characters' names, marked with an A or a B at the top. Like the original Cabbage Patch Kids, each Garbage Pail Kids character had a unique, funny name designed to appeal its main audience, mainly young elementary school boys in the 1980s. Shortly after their launch in the United States, Garbage Pail Kids became an international phenomenon, reaching hundreds of millions of children in over 20 countries worldwide. The main difference between the American and the international versions were not the illustrations, but they stayed the same. As you can see in these examples, most foreign versions, especially in non-English speaking countries, got brand new text in each of the local language. As you can see in the bottom right corner, the Israeli version was titled Chavurat HaZevel, which mean literally the garbage bunch. The creation of the international versions of Garbage Pail Kids is a fascinating process. For example, Chavurat HaZevel was created and sold in Israel in 1987, 1988 by a company called Shivuk Aggressivi, or in English, aggressive marketing, which was established by a marketing wizard named Israel Stern. Israel Stern selected the American cards that he thought would fit best for the Israeli children. He then hired Tzipora Dolan, a senior copywriter at Arieli Advertising Company, to transform the English content into Hebrew. Another part of Dolan's work was adding events and terms from the Hebrew sources, making Chavurat HaZevel not just an Israeli and Hebrew version, but also a Jewish one. Here are some examples linked to Hebrew sources. So we have Guy Ben Hinnom, that refers to Guy Ben Hinnom, Simcha and Sasson, the Book of Esther, Gal Atzamot, Baruch Haba, Meir Enaim, Oved Parech, Ram Ben Issa. We have David Yefe Enaim, and we also have Zichrono Livracha, that comes from the Babylonian Talmud. So, in my eyes, Dolan's work was an impressive linguistic achievement. From folklore perspective, what she did was very important because she accidentally recorded many of the nicknames and teasing rhymes used by Hebrew-speaking children in Israel during the 1980s. Some of the names already existed in Hebrew, while others she created and were later adopted into everyday language by Israeli kids. And we will explore this topic more deeply in our next session. First, I want to go back to this slide showing the huge sales numbers that indicate that most Israeli children were familiar with Chavurat HaZevel. What these numbers do not indicate is what exactly adults thought about Chavurat HaZevel and to what extent they thought Chavurat HaZevel were non-educational and morally wrong. These numbers also do not show how, at the very beginning of the campaign, aggressive marketing faced a major marketing failure. Luckily, then, something really remarkable happened. During October 1987, about a month after Chavurat HaZevel was released in Israel, the principal of an elementary school in Kiryat Ono, a small town near Tel Aviv, saw some children trading Chavurat HaZevel. Completely shocked, she decided to ban them completely from school. Ironically, what happened next was that the rumor about the banned stickers spread like wildfire. Within days, kids raided local grocery stores in Kiryat Ono and its surroundings, emptying the shelves of any Chavurat HaZevel products. That was exactly what aggressive marketing and Israel Stern were waiting for to happen. Marketing experts might say that if the event hadn't happened in Kiryat Ono, someone would have to stage it. Others might argue that there's simply no such thing as bad publicity. Another strong voice against Chavurat HaZevel was Bina Ofek, one of the most influential figures in children's education at that time. Bina Ofek was a major opinion leader at that time, and as agent of social order, adults were responsible for putting boundaries and maintaining cultural norms for anything disgusting, violence, or inappropriate. Indeed, Chavurat HaZevel exposed children to taboo prohibitions, which kept adults worried about that such provocative content could set a bad example. Adults were also concerned that Chavurat HaZevel might cause irreversible psychological damage. Even though Israel Stern predicted that negative reactions would boost sales, he still launched a public relation campaign to improve Chavurat HaZevel public image. The campaign was led by psychologist, and it was aimed to convince the adults that not only Chavurot HaZevel were not harmful, on the contrary, Chavurot HaZevel could even benefit children. The center of the argument was that exposure to non-educational content using humor could actually help kids process their daily urges and anxieties. By laughing at what is considered to be forbidding or gross, children could find a healthy way to deal with social rules, restrictions, and prohibition. Netta Shadmi, who wrote a column in Ma'ariv newspaper in February 1988, explained it well. She wrote, and I quote, "Chavurot HaZevel serve as a purifying function, almost like a joke. Children are constantly taught that it's unacceptable to wallow in filth, and kids who do that are often labeled as pigs. But children don't naturally hate junk. They aren't disgusted by things like poop, runny noses, wounds, or other bodily fluids. We teach them to avoid these things, but jokes and cartoons help them laugh about it. So they don't always feel weighted down by what's considered to be a no." Amalia Argaman Barnea, who wrote Opinions for Yedidot Acharonot, had other reasons to support Chavurot HaZevel. She mentioned how, thanks to Chavurot HaZevel, her 4 years old actually managed to learn Hebrew terms from the Jewish sources. She also informed her readers how her second grade daughter became obsessed with creating new Chavurot HaZevel characters, which sparked her love for the Hebrew language. But for Bergman, the biggest benefit was social. Her children started spending more time outside on Saturday afternoons, meeting up with old friends, making new friends, and trading cards, and just communicate. Now I'd like to show you a really nice piece of historical evidence from the 1980s. It's an interview with 4 Israeli children and with a psychologist named Dalia Rabinovich. The video is part of the most successful late-night TV show in the 1980s called Siba LeMesiba, hosted by the one and only Rivka Michaeli. Let's watch the video.
תודה רבה. ובעוד אריק איינשטיין והמוסיקאים הלכו להלעל בעיתוני סוף השבוע, אנחנו מתפנים לשאילתה שהוגשה בשבוע שעבר בכנסת על ידי חבר הכנסת דוד דנינו לשר החינוך, וזו לשונה: כבוד השר, לאחרונה הוצף השוק בחוברת לילדים הנקראת חוברת הזבל, ובה מדביקים הילדים מדבקות של דמויות מגעילות, ועם רכישת המדבקות האלה הם גם מקבלים תעודות מיוחדות, ובהן רישיון שקרן, תעודת התלמיד הטיפש, רישיון לסנוע, רישיון של נהג מטורף ועוד. ברישיון להיות גואלי, אנחנו מקצרים כאן, כתוב בין השאר: רישיון זה מעניק לך את הזכות להיות נתעב וגואלי כפי שהנך באמת. חוברות אלו הציפו את בתי הספר העממי, ואין המורים אוסרים את התלמידים מלרכוש אותן. שאלות: הידועים לך נתונים אלו? האם בדעת משרד החינוך לאסור רכישת חוברת זו על ידי תלמידי בתי הספר? אם כן, כיצד? לפני שהשאילתה תזכה למענה בעוד שבוע, יש עמנו צוות של מומחים. הם יסבירו לנו מהי חבורת הזבל, כי הם זבלנים מנוסים וגאים. ערב טוב לכם, עינת ואייל וליקי ומוני.
את הסדרה הזו אין בטלוויזיה, וכל מה שיפה בזה זה שזה גואלים. זה לא היה גואלי, זה לא היה כל כך נדיר ולא היה כל כך מחפשים את זה.
זה יותר מקורי.
להיות גואלי זה מקורי.
מאוד.
טוב, אז תרשו לי עכשיו לפנות לפסיכולוגית לגליה רבינוביץ' ולשאול אותה אם אנחנו כאן עושים דבר הנורא לילדים שלנו, שנותנים להם לאסוף את הקלפים האלה.
טוב, אני רוצה להתייחס לשני דברים. אחד זה עניין האספנות,
שהוא היה מאז ומעולם. אנחנו אספנו סמלים של קופסאות סיגריות, גוגויים, פרסים וכולי, ובולים, ועכשיו אוספים מיני צילומים.
אבל שהחיים של הילדים בזבל...
עכשיו, השאלה היא למה דווקא חבורת הזבלנים, ופה התשובה מעניינת. זאת אומרת, הרעיון שהילדים העלו זה בדיוק הרעיון שעומד מאחורי העניין, וזה לעשות את המלהפך. כיוון שבחיי היומיום האמיתיים דורשים מילד להיות נקי, מסודר, חרוץ, ישר, הגון, טוב, צייתן וכולי וכולי, הרגשות המלהפכים מחפשים פורקן, והם מוצאים פורקן בדמויות של חבורת הזבל, ואם תסתכלו על הדמויות, אז לכל אחד יש איזה מין דבר שהתחשק לו לעשות, ולא תמיד הוא מרשה לעצמו לעשות, שעושים אותם הילדים שבכלל. האמת היא שגם למבוגרים יש פורקנים כאלה, אבל אנחנו לא קוראים להם חבורת הזבל, בשפה המקצועית קוראים להם מאחורי הקלעים, האמיתי, לא בתיאטרון. חדר המורים, ששם מדברים המורים על הילדים, כמו שהם לא מרשים לעצמם לדבר אל הילדים. המנתחים, כשהם מורידים את כפפות המנתח ומדברים על החולה בדיוק במלהפך מיראת הכבוד שמתעסקים בו כשמנתחים אותו. לכל מקצוע כמעט ולכל מצב בחיים יש מאחורי הקלעים כזה.
את חושבת שזה יזיק להם?
לא, אני חושבת שזה מועיל, כי אם יש אפשרות לבטא באיזושהי צורה את המלהפך, זה שומר על דרך הישר.
אייל? יש לך משהו להגיד לחבר הכנסת דנינו?
מה שאסור לקנות, שלא יקנה.
תודה רבה לכם, הזבלנים, ולך, הפסיכולוגית גלי רבינוביץ', תודה גדולה.
It seems that for children, any negative criticism which sometimes led to the banning and confiscation of the materials was a perfect opportunity to rebel against what was considered unacceptable. Indeed, the more adults forbade children to collect and trade these cards, Chavurat HaZevel became more and more firmly established in their lives. For adults, it was also a perfect opportunity to set limits and more moral boundaries. And one of the ways they did it was by creating creative projects that offered a positive alternative to Chavurat HaZevel. The example here on the left, the cleaning bunch, which was promoted by the children magazine Kulanu Le'Iladim, include educational figures such as Shulamit Mushlemet, which translate to flawless Shlomit, as well as other figures like generous Nadav, Nadav Lev Zahav, or Meir Kol Zamir, which translate to Nightingale Meir. Another example here on the right showcased Caring Mati Cleaning Bunch that was introduced by the Council for Beautiful Israel. It was written by Mira Maor and it was illustrated by Michel Kishka. This series featured characters like Caring Mati, Shiny Tzachi, Waste Dumping Iftach, and Junk Collector Shibolet. Mati Echpati, Tzachi Metzuchzachi, Iftach Zorek Lapach, and Shibolet Osefet Psolet. Caring Mati stickers were handed out actually to kindergartens and elementary school across Israel, encouraging kids to maintain a clean and healthy environment, or in other words, a beautiful Israel. One of the things that surprised me was that these educational ideas were also used in other sectors. For example, in 1988, in ultra-Orthodox neighborhood, children collected and traded photos of famous rabbis. The stickers were sold with a special album called Olam HaRabbanim, or The World of Rabbis in English. By the way, these cards were also known as Rabbonim in slang. Looking at the album table of contents, we can see that it starts with photos of contemporary rabbis and it ends with pictures of rabbis who have already passed away. In this sense, this Rabbonim series was not only used to teach ultra-Orthodox children who their heroes should be, admorim, tzadikim, and rabbanim, but also help them understand the complex structure of and history of their ultra-Orthodox world, which is very complex, as you can see. Another example for a non-secular positive alternative for Chavurat HaZevel was included in Otiyot, a magazine for national religious children. In April 1988, the magazine launched a special project called 40 Blue and White. As the title suggests, the project featured 40 stickers, each representing a single year in Israel's history. The stickers were sold together with a large poster where children could place and paste these stickers. The initiative was led by magazine editor Uri Orbach, who later became the Knesset member for the National Religious Party, or Hamafdal. The artists were Shai Charka and Nissim Chazkia, also known as Nusko. And as you can see, the center of the poster features a typical Israeli child, which recall the iconic figure of Srulik, originally created by the famous Israeli artist Dosh. Let's have a zoom on this figure. So Srulik was not just a typical Israeli child, he was symbolizing the young state of Israel. And as you can see here on his right, according to the magazine, there are 14 points that define the qualities of an Israeli kid. Okay, so 14 points. The first one is 1948 is always on his mind. Second one, he tries quietly to listen to some music, sees headsets. He knows how to use a tie, but always dresses cool. He keeps in touch with his origin in the diaspora, in the Gola. Has an empty pocket because of the economy, of course. Despite videos, still Am HaSefer, book, the people of the book. One leg is always stuck in the mud. Number 8 is, for some reason, he prefers foreign products. He's constantly on edge, atzbani. He's careful not to get injured. There's still much to build. The 12-1 is always on ongoing alert. One eye is looking towards Zion, Ayin LeZion Sophia. And the last one is he urgently needs a haircut. And for some time, I found myself wondering, why 14 points? Why the number 14? Does it hold any particular meaning? And then it hit me. It corresponds the 14 points that define Garbage Pail Kids in the US and Chavurat HaZevel here in Israel. Well, the American version here on the left was sold as a poster. The Israeli version was placed on the front cover of the first album. So now let's zoom in the 14 regional points that correspond also to the Israeli version. And we can see the characteristics of a real Garbage Pail Kids. Definitely non-education content. Okay, so now let's return to the 40 Blue and White project. In May 1988, about 2 months after the project was launched, and a couple of days before Israel's 40th Independence Day, Uri Orbach and a group of children traveled to Jerusalem to meet with Prime Minister Yitzhak Shamir. During the meeting, they presented him the poster and the stickers, and explain about the 40 Blue and White project. A reporter covering this event quoted Uri Orbach saying that, and I quote, "This is our answer to Chavurat HaZevel." With this statement, Uri Orbach created a clear moral distinction, setting his community, the national religious community, apart from the general secular public. This fascinating anecdote is actually a teaser for our next session. On December 28, 1987, about 5 months before Uri Orbach met Prime Minister Yitzhak Shamir, an unusual event took place in the Israeli parliament, the Knesset. On that day, Knesset member David Danino from the National Religious Party, Hamafdal, sent an urgent question, or she'ilta, to Yitzhak Navon, who served at that time as the Minister of Education and Culture. In that question, Knesset member Danino expressed his concerns about what could be the harmful effect of Chavurat HaZevel on Israeli children. Next week, we will discuss Danino's question and, just as importantly, Yitzhak Navon's response. Next week, we will also see how this esoteric event in the Israeli parliament set off a chain reaction that formed an unbreakable connection between Chavurat HaZevel and Israeli politics. That's it for now. See you all next week.